All right, here we go. Another edition of the Inside Fitness Podcast. Today's guest is Jenna Medina. How's it going, Jenna?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing good. I've known Jenna for probably, 5-6 years now?
Yeah,
6 years,
it's
something like that.
crazy.
So, and this is obviously our first time doing a podcast. And at the same time, you're going to be recording this for your podcast.
I just launched a podcast too. So I don't know. We'll see. We might use this one or do another one. Depends on how juicy this gets.
Yeah, we'll see. You'll definitely see how, I guess, some tough questions for you.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no, thanks for making the time to come down and to do this. Obviously, it takes, I've been doing this for a little while and then just kind of getting back into the rhythm of doing it and then seeing you start your podcast. Obviously, it's something, it's really cool, right?
It is. You know what? I love it because I feel like, on social, we've all gotten accustomed to filters and, kind of living this fake life in a sense. And I feel like podcast is one of those things. I mean, I know you're filming us right now, but for me, it's like detached from my face. So I feel like I could be a little bit more raw and genuine, and people really vibe with that. So I love it.
No, it's great. It's great.
Yeah.
So I usually like to start off podcasts with where I met someone or when I met someone.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, I gotta make sure I look at the camera. So if I remember correctly, this is going back, you were doing some work with Arsenic with Arthur.
Yeah.
And obviously you were doing makeup, hair stuff. And you used to come by to the studio, right? And then I think you'd bring coffee or something like that, donuts.
I feel like I was always early. That's why I met you, because you were always in the office and I was always the first one there, because that's just me. I'm crazy with time. And I just remember being early a couple times and like having the back studio not be open and having to you would come and open it for me. And
I was a gentleman. I was a nice guy.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it was good. It was good. That's how I got to know you. I mean, I think it's really intimidating. I think anyone that works for Arthur or anyone else, knowing that you created Inside Fitness and you kind of you did everything. Initially, it's like I never really wanted to bother you. I was like, okay, I'm just gonna not, I didn't want to be one of those it's nice to have people that follow you and follow your journey and want to meet you and all that stuff. But I never wanted to be up in your thrill at work,
I mean, we did so many different photo shoots in the studio, in the office and all that. And there was some days where obviously I had work to do that I couldn't really be back there. And so I'd, pick and choose.
But I guess
nice
I did start to get to know you because when you would come, once Arthur hired me on full time and I was there more often, I would see you and then we would chat. And that's kind of how I got to know you because,
absolutely.
You're super chill. You're not as intimidating as I guess a lot of people probably think you are.
Maybe that was your first impression. I always think it's weird, but I've heard it before.
What about it do you think is weird?
Intimidating or something
that people know you or followed your fitness journey and kind of look up to that. And I mean, you've done a lot. When you're looking at North America, Inside Fitness Mag has
well, I actually think it's my look. I actually think it's the face that I put on. I look
you have
sometimes
bitch face, but for a man.
Yeah, I think he looks like he's. Why is he so pissed?
You do look concentrated.
Sometimes I know. Sometimes I'm just standing there, and people will come up to me hey, are you pissed? Are you upset?
Really?
Or they'll think yes, maybe because I don't talk a lot at first. I certainly like to hear what people have to say. But some people will.
Well, maybe
will
it's just totally different than what you put out there. As far as your magazine, people probably expect you to be out there.
Well,
right? I would be more suited to own a fitness. No, I'm joking. But I could see that. Even for me though too, I find in new crowds I kind of like to observe more than I want to be really.
Really?
Even though
are you the quiet, shy type?
I'm not.
No, I don't think so. So let's start. Let's talk about your history. You were born in Toronto.
Mm-hmm.
So you grew up.
I grew up downtown Toronto.
East End.
I'm a Torontonian.
We all must have pretend here a little bit that I don't know exactly everything because I want everyone to kind of.
You kind of don't really know.
I
mean, you learn a lot through podcasts. I think that's why I enjoy it so much. Even I had Saba. I know you just had Saba, and for me, it's really cool to ask these questions that I wouldn't normally ask. And you do get into depth about how people got into fitness or whatever it is that they're doing, right?
Well, people that but then you can ask some questions and things that you learn about them. So I did a podcast with Saba last week, and she actually threw a couple things at me that I had no clue about. And it was interesting. I was kind of like, wow, I wasn't expecting that. Sometimes you just expect it to be the same stuff that you've heard over and over, but that wasn't the case. And let's see what we can get out of you today.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I wonder what you don't know about me.
I don't know. Okay, so you grew up in Toronto.
I did.
Were you always were you into fashion, into fitness when you were younger? Like, what was your, grade school? Were you picked on? Give me something.
You know what? Actually, this probably, okay, so I figure skated for years, so it was always very competitive. But, like being pretty curvy, I was never someone that was like gonna make it to the Olympics. Like my jumps were definitely not that high.
Did anyone ever tell you that when you were younger?
You know what? One summer was really funny. I lost like 10 pounds and I went back on the ice and like my jumps like doubled in like height. It was hilarious. No, I just always knew I was never that crazy. It wasn't my passion 100%. I kind of wanted to do modeling for a while, but I obviously didn't have the height or the slender.
Just some of the things you need
some
for
of the
modeling.
main
Yeah, me too. I
things
hear
you
you.
need for modeling. And then I was never like really like big, so I couldn't do plus size. Like I was always in the middle. And I used to see. Do you know what's interesting that I don't even know if you know? Like I used to read Inside Fitness magazine before ever even thinking I would ever be into fitness, because it was the one magazine I felt like I actually learned from. Like it literally, your articles, everything from the minute you guys launched, I loved it. Like, yeah, so it was crazy. So it was interesting because when I went to school for makeup, I always loved photo shoot aspects, but never thought I'd actually be doing photo shoots. Yeah. With fashion in makeup, like you'd have to be with an agency like Judy Inc. for years before you could even do makeup on set. So pretty much like the fact that I was doing makeup for photo shoots in fitness was really cool for me because I never even saw any of that coming. And then the fitness aspect was like, I always thought, it would be so cool to be a fitness model because you don't really have to be a certain height. But I just never thought I could get my body as shredded as I did at one point. So that was really cool.
So what made you decide to compete?
So I actually dated a bodybuilder when I was like 19, who trained me like a man. It was really funny. Like I was benching and stuff. Like I was benching like a good plate at one point.
Were you intimidated before you got like getting into the gym and all that? I mean.
So no, I loved. So actually like the first, he kind of got me comfortable with the gym and with like using the bar and all that. And I understand how that could be really intimidating for a lot of people, which is why like booty building boxes, all at home workouts, because I know that's a huge factor, is like being able to like go into a gym, know how to use the machines, know how to do proper form. Like all of that's really tricky initially. But
and this is going back what?
So this is going back when I was at Sheridan.
So I
was 19, 20. He did one of those, the first Fame? Was it Fame?
Yeah.
So he did a bodybuilding show, and we used to actually go to shows, and I was like, oh, this would be so cool. But I always just thought it was impossible because I was super curvy. And then pretty much at 27, 28, I had a bucket list for turning 30, and one of them was to compete in a bodybuilding show.
Oh, yeah.
So I forced my friend Vula.
Yeah.
Because I had a trainer and he's like, no, I don't agree with shows. I'm not going to train you for it. And then my friend Vula, who was shredded all the time, and she was a girl, I knew she did photo shoots and stuff. So I was like, I want you to train me. And she was like, no, I'm not training. She at the time just had her second kid and was like not wanting to do any of that. And I said, well, I know you do photo shoots, so I'll do your hair and makeup for free if you train me for a show. And she said, okay.
Oh, no way.
So I trained for 9 months for my first show, which was UFE.
UFE.
In London, yeah.
Oh, London. And what year was that?
Oh, geez Louise. I want to say that's like 6-7 years ago. Yeah, I was like 28. Oh, geez Louise, that's 7 years ago.
28, yeah. That's crazy how time flies.
I'm getting old.
And you did a couple of shows, right?
I've done 5 shows.
5?
Yeah. So I did UFE. I probably would have, they tore me up. They hated me.
They did not want you on stage.
They did not want me on stage. I was like way too much for them. They were like, who is this crazy girl? I was like a figure skater for my...
Yeah.
Yeah, so I probably would have never competed after that first show. Because it was fun, but I was like, yeah, definitely. Like I came last in one of the categories and knew that like my glutes were just never gonna cut it for fitness.
So how were you mentally after that? Were you upset? Like,
no, I just wanted to do it
now and stuff. But like some people would be devastated, to be like, get up on stage, obviously showing your ass, and then you're like, okay, I did not do well here.
To be honest, like, I just never thought my body would ever be that ripped. Like, I was just happy that I looked the part on stage. Like, I had abs, I was like, and, throughout the whole process was really hard back then because that was before Instagram really launched and people were really doing shows. So a lot of my friends kind of stopped talking to me, didn't understand why I was like not wanting to eat certain things or why I was working out so much. But no, like, I was just really proud that I even got on stage. Like, I remember, do you remember Louise from Monaco-san?
Yeah,
I love her. I went to go tan, and I remember the 2 days before competition, I went in there and I was tan. I was like, I'm so excited. And she literally like looked at me like, Jenna, this is so weird. Most people come in here before a show and they're so depleted and they don't talk and they're moody. And I'm like, I'm just so excited I get to be on stage.
Oh, man.
Yeah, it was crazy. Yeah.
Have you always been this energetic?
Yeah.
Always? You came out of the womb like that?
Yeah, pretty much. Mom was like, who is this child? This is not my child.
I've known Jenna for a while, and you're always in a very positive, and you can laugh about the things that I mean are I would say sensitive for some people, right? Like, yeah. Where does this come from?
Well, yeah, like a lot of it, I mean, I was always kind of a pushover, so I wasn't always as open to not giving a shit. But yeah, after my dad passed, which was like the reason why I competed again after that initial show, which I probably wouldn't have competed again, but that's kind of how I got into fitness because I needed something to just occupy my like mind and put me in a zone. But yeah, after that I was just kind of, life is short. Like, if you don't like me or if I'm not your cup of tea, which I'm not gonna be for a lot of people, and that's fine, but it's like, I'm just gonna do what makes me happy, and if that bothers you and you don't want to be around it, I don't care. Like, I'm just over caring about, I find the most negative people are the ones that are just dealing with their own things, right? Like, if you're happy with your life and you're happy with where things are going, or you're trying to improve, then you're gonna take to positivity, right? Like, life is short. You see things like, I was in ICU, I saw like people my age dying, and I was just like, you know what? Like, when I survive this and I'm like past the point of being upset about it or whatever it is, I'm just gonna live every day to the fullest and do things that I've always wanted to do, and be happy about the fact that I get to do them.
Awesome.
Right?
Very cool.
Yeah.
So how did you get into the whole makeup and hair? Like, how did that all transpire?
So I actually was going to go to university for theater.
No surprise. There we go. For theater, acting.
Which was great because when I was in high school, I would project so loud that like all my teachers would be like, Jenna, you're the only one that doesn't need a microphone. And then I got Bell palsy during my audition. So half my face went paralyzed.
Oh my God.
So my auditions were really funny. I looked like Jean Chrétien. Like, it was bad. It was bad. For a week. Thank God my cousin's a doctor and she put me on steroids and it went away. But like, it was bad. It was right during the time of all my auditions for university. Wow. And then I just, by accident, like, had applied to Sheridan for cosmetics and management, and pretty much thought that once my auditions all went really bad that I was going to take a year off and then reapply. And then last minute I got into Sheridan for makeup, and one of my girlfriends got in for interior design, and I just went, okay, let's go. It's a 2-year program. Like, who cares? Like, let's just do it together. That's when I lived in Oakville. And then makeup was so easy for me because I was so good with colors, and I never said, you know what, I never looked at myself as a makeup artist. Like, I was never one of those people like that loved makeup so much. I just had a good eye for it. Yeah. And then I was fast. So yeah, it was weird that I actually did makeup.
So how did you start to get paid? Because I mean, there's a lot of people who will be listening and like, okay, how does this transpire? Like,
so this was the thing, is I actually went to school like for Sheridan. I worked in makeup for a bit. I wasn't liking it because I was doing like sales end. I was managing Lise Wattier and then being a makeup artist for Lise Wattier, which was fun, but not paying the bills. And then I kind of turned into plastic surgery, which is crazy. Like, I went from makeup to working as a receptionist at Toronto Cosmetic Clinic, and then learning everything to do with like plastic surgery, and kind of actually doing makeup there too. I was doing mineral makeup there for Glow Minerals, and then I was traveling and doing actually camouflage makeup for people that had vitiligo or rosacea, facelifts, scarring, all of that. And then pretty much what happened is I worked for plastics for like 6 years and then realized like I wasn't a nurse. I wasn't getting the like respect or the pay that I deserved. And I just thought, well, what can I do that I'm good at and make a lot of money doing? And throughout the time I was working for plastics, I would do random weddings, like makeup for random weddings. And every time I did someone's wedding, they'd be like, you're so good, Jenna. Like, you have to do this. You have to do this. And I thought, how am I going to make a living doing makeup? And then I kind of just said one year, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do it. I hired this like web guy. And one of our first meetings was like, I had deleted my Facebook. I had no social media before I started my business.
Yeah.
And one of our meeting was like, he was like, so how many followers do you have? And I was like, what do you mean? Like, I don't even have like social media. He's like, what do you mean you don't have social media? Like, how do you expect to have a business with no followers? And I was like, what? And he was like, yeah, like you need that. Yeah. So he actually did SEO. We did all of that. I launched my site, glamology.ca. I did a lot of free work, which a lot of people don't want to do anymore. And it's like, unless you want to make it, you have to build a portfolio of some sort, right? So I remember I would like drive to Brampton for one client for like $60 back in the day and just like do it so I had more portfolio pictures. And,
it wasn't always about the dollar.
No, it was never about the dollar initially. And then one thing led to another. I was just like working. It's all word of mouth. It takes time. Like it took like a good 2 years until I was. And then Lenny from Hourglass hired me for Arthur. And I remember Arthur was freaking out because there was 18 people.
Yes.
18 or 16.
Yeah. Sometimes when there's photo shoots that are being done, they're with a group of women or a mixed group, and you have to work on a lot of people.
No, it was crazy. And I remember him,
18.
Lenny calling me, no, there was 16. 16. I think because I did Elizabeth and her friend at the end, but they weren't part of the shoot. And she had called me and said, we have 16 girls. Can you do 16 girls? I said, yeah, no problem. I just finished doing an Indian wedding where I did 8 hair and makeups pretty much on my own.
Wow.
So I was like, yeah, makeup is easy. Like hair's harder to do that many people because people want like, hair doesn't always stay in place. Makeup always stays. So then I remember like Arthur freaking out, calling her, and then her calling me back and saying, are you sure you don't need somebody else? Like, are you sure? And I said, no, like I got this. It's makeup. It's fine. And then I showed up at the shoot. You know what's interesting? I don't even know if you know this. Arthur had shot me a year before me doing that shoot. Mm-hmm. So the thought of me so I had this moment where I was like, okay, I'm approaching 30. I want to launch my own business. I want to do a fitness show. There was a couple things I wanted to do. So I had hired Arthur for a fitness shoot before ever competing to see if that was even something I could do. So I did a photo shoot with Arthur a year before I then showed up in his studio doing makeup. So when I showed up, he was like, I didn't know you did makeup. And I was like, well, I just launched my business, like blah, blah. He's like, are you sure you're okay doing this? I was like, yeah, I got it. Don't worry. And then we did the shoot. I was like, if not early or on time. He was shocked. Everyone looked good. Elizabeth's friend, who was a makeup artist, was like, I've never seen a makeup artist do work like this and do it this fast. And then Arthur was like, I'm going to use you. Like, this is amazing. Like, you're fast, right? So that's
there's something to be said about, obviously, you need to get things done.
Done.
I mean, when you're on set,
time is money.
Yeah, we always say that. You can't go too long. Obviously, you have to give people the time to create their magic. And, some people could take a little longer than others, of course, right? I guess there's obviously a lot of pressure.
Yeah, I don't tell people I'm fast because I don't want them to think that I'm just not like taking the time and being meticulous and still noticing detail. But I think that's one reason why I've done well and made money, because when you're looking at weddings, the more people you do, that's cash in your pocket, right? Yeah. So how many people can you do at once on a Saturday? There's only so many Saturdays in a month. Yeah. And that was the only way I could make money as an artist.
Oh, very cool. Mm-hmm. That's it. Mm-hmm. So now let's get into booty. Let's get into some booty because you love to talk about and love to educate people about
glutes, booty.
So how many years ago when you told me this, you were going to do the booty box?
Booty building box?
Booty building box.
Thanks.
Booty building box.
I came to you. You were the first person that ever knew about it after I wrote the program with Megan. Yeah. But I waited. I remember it was so funny because we had a talk on the phone. I was like, Terry, like, I have this booty building program I want you to read. And I think initially you probably have this all the time, like the amount of programs you've seen.
I get a lot of people who will throw ideas, not necessarily for me to even get involved, but just to say, hey, I'm thinking about doing this. What do you think? And I'll never really make anyone feel like stupid. I mean, I may say, hey, like, I play devil's advocate. I think that's why people do come to me and do ask about stuff, because I would want the same thing. If I'm, hey, what do you think of the shirt? You know, does it look good? You're like, no, that does not look good on you. Same thing with obviously major life decisions. So I do remember you making that call, and yeah, from what I recall, listen, I hear it all the time, and most of the time it's like, oh, you're fucking crazy. Like I just don't think this is gonna probably go. But I did knowing you, and then the idea, especially at that time too, where there's a market. And you kind of, well, you did sell me when you explained to me what you're going to do. Because I think I said, well, what do you mean, booty building box? Like, what do you mean exactly? Obviously, everyone wants to talk about their ass and to build it. And it's one of those things that in the magazine, men and women. But when you said was endo booty, ecto booty.
Yeah, when I said I created booty types, and you're
booty
like,
types,
what?
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, booty types, because initially it was supposed to be body types, but body types didn't make sense. I didn't want an endomorph, someone who was curvy, to think they have to lose weight if they wanted to build an ass, right? I don't think any person is really one full. I mean, you do have, but a lot of us are mixes of body types, right? Like, there's some people that have long limbs that also have an ass, right? Like, so everyone's very different. So if we focus on just that one area.
How did you get so into this to even go this far? This is what I want to know. It's like you like the.
I don't know, Terry. It just happened.
Are you looking at women constantly and looking?
No, you know what happened? Because my ass was always so bad when I competed. Yeah. I always came last in bikini because I always had a big ass. I had to bring it in, right? Yeah. And so what happened is I had to focus so much harder on my own glutes to try to make them tighter, lifted, toned. So when I was training clients, my clients were building these unbelievable asses in 6 weeks. Like, I'm not even joking you. I remember being like, this is crazy. And then I remember also having just like a rush of new set of girls that were coming in going like, specifically, I want to build a booty, or I want to make my booty tighter, or I want a side curve, or whatever it was. And I just like, they were responding so fast because I had to work 10 times harder to bring mine in, because I was older than all these fitness girls that were competing, but B is like, I always had like genetically my glutes weren't the greatest. Like, I had volume, but I was never tight. You know what I mean? So it kind of just happened like that. And then when I bought my place, I needed a new form of income. I was like, I don't want to just do like services all the time. I want to be able to make some money while I'm sitting at home, which is everyone's, I think, dream, right? And then hiring Megan, and then.
So you put some moves together. So obviously you have a lot of initiative. You're someone who's, I mean, I would say hungry. Obviously, you want to do something, right? You're ambitious.
I'm always hungry, literally and figuratively. Yeah. I just, you know what it is like, you see in a lot of the stuff that you see on social is fake, right? And a lot of people like try to make it seem like they have these crazy lifestyles, but then you do see people that succeed. And I always think like, if you work really, really hard and you're smart about the way that you do things, like anything's possible. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I think there's always a way to do that. I think it takes time and you have to be consistent, but
I'm sure you must have had some challenges when you started this. And I mean, let's start with the first one. People taking you seriously.
Ooh, that was a huge one.
Right? Because like I said, I remember when I had an idea to start a magazine, and people look at you like your hair is on fucking fire.
Yeah. How was that for you though?
How was that for me? I mean, when I started to tell some people what I was going to do, yeah, I mean, I remember I had a meeting with my old boss, and I told him that, and it wasn't the most, the best meeting, because he was like, oh, you don't have any money, you can't do this, what do you know about magazines, yada, yada. You know, it was one of those things where, yeah, people won't believe you. And I think this is one of the key things for anyone who's going to start a business or get involved in any business, is you just have to fucking own it.
That's 100% it.
You have to really believe in it, because there's no way you're going to sell something to someone if you don't believe in it yourself.
100%.
So that's where the confidence, I think, comes from. If you actually feel that, when I started the magazine, it wasn't just, okay, I want to make money, I want to do things. I think everyone would be lying to you if they said they didn't want to make money. It's just, how am I going to make money? What am I going to do? How am I going to be different, than other people? So yeah, it was for me. It was once I owned the idea and then I had the first sale, I was like, okay.
Well, that's what it is. Like I said in one of my podcasts how freaky it was launching, because initially Booty Building Box was supposed to be just a program. It wasn't supposed to be a box and a thing and all of that.
Talking about that
and then you were like, this is amazing, you need to do more, which meant so much to me, because I was like, okay, if someone who's known the industry, knows programs, knows all these things, is saying like, this is a great idea, do more.
Well, yeah, let's talk about the program. So how does this work?
So there's a quiz. You can take the quiz, which is how we get a lot of our emails.
Go to your website.
Go to bootybuildingbox.com. You can take the quiz, and then find out what your booty type is. And it's, you know what? It's for everyone. Like, you can add it on to your fitness routine. It's only twice a week.
Is it all women?
No, we have a lot of men that actually do it. Which
you actually really do get guys?
We do get guys. I mean, initially, like, I was going to do more of a unisex type of box, but what happened was my web guy at the time was kind of like, you should focus on your market, because people are going to research who you are. And if you're a woman, like selling to women, it might be a bit more marketable. So do it that way. Initially, like, plans are later on, maybe to do more of a unisex so that the men feel a bit more comfortable. But I have a lot of women that do it with their husbands, because a lot of men have lower back pain. And this is just retraining people how to train glutes properly, right? And we all know that the glutes are a huge part of like back, hip, knee, all of that, right? Like, so yeah, I do. We also have, we have a combination of people. It's weird, because when we first launched, I really thought my target market was like, I don't know, 19 to 35. And then I remember we did this mom show, and I had like 55-year-old women buying it, being like, I can't wait. Like, I've always wanted a booty. And I'm just like, what is happening? Like, it was crazy. I think it appeals to everyone. Glutes are good to train for everyone. I mean, obviously it's mostly women because of the way we've marketed it. But
I do think there's going to be a trend, because I see it in doing what I do. Obviously guys care about all the body parts and all that. Yeah. And I think you're going to get, maybe they may not say it out loud. It's like, do you remember back in the day, maybe you're a little young for this, but when I tackled yoga for men?
Oh my gosh, you did? How was that?
Well,
now so many men do yoga.
Oh, yeah. Back then it was thought of as being like a female activity.
Really?
Well, yoga, I'm not saying in my world. You got to remember too, I was coming more from a bodybuilding background,
That's
more
true.
Fitness world. In my world, we weren't a yoga magazine or any of that. So we never, and it was Trish Stratus, obviously. I worked with her.
Yeah.
And I had an idea, and I'm like, this is how we're going to do it. And I wasn't going to lie to you. I mean, we had a very attractive, well-known yoga expert.
Yeah.
And if guys are going to listen, they're going to listen to her. But I also said, okay, we have to do something pretty cool. And I got Jonathan Chamberg in there, and he did yoga with her, and then he trained her in some
that's
MMAs.
cool. Jonathan
Chamberg trained a lot of UFC fighters, MMA fighters. So that was my angle on it. But that was at a time when it wasn't perceived like it was just something I had to introduce to readers. And you're taking a chance, right? Like, I'm taking a chance, so I put some of the content in there, because people could look at you, oh, he's a fucking idiot. Like, what are they picking out? Why are they doing this? But yeah, I thought that was, and then now I look at it, obviously, and it's like a no-brainer. But I also, not to really age myself too much, but I used to work for Oxygen magazine, and when I started working there, it was issue number 3-4, and that magazine was serious fitness for women. That was when like Madonna had biceps, and people were like, "Oh my God, that's gross! Yeah. How could she do that?" And that's what we're talking about. So fast forward now. You know what I mean?
Well, I think the reason why Booty Building Box does well is because it's taking people away from this idea that you have to lose weight. And it's like, it's not a weight loss program at all. It's really just teaching. So I pretty much.
Do you have to go to the gym? Like, where do you have to go?
No, it's all at home workouts, but it's teaching people the science of fitness. So what I've done is I took all the things I learned from bodybuilding and I've mass marketed it, which has never really been done. So we talk about what to eat before and after. So you avoid muscle breakdown, you restore glycogen, and then you're feeding the muscle. But we don't really do any other, like, we have a food plan if someone wants it, but we're really talking about training smart here. So a lot of people appreciate that more than anything else. And a lot of the wives are like sharing it with their husbands. And when men read the program, they're like, this is amazing. Like, this is like, how did you even think of all of this, right?
Yeah. I mean, listen, I think it's really cool because I do see some things on social media and all that, but the community that you created and the support system for everyone too, because I see the comments, I see women supporting each other, starting a business. Hey, I'm sure you had some people going, you know what, let's give this a try.
Yeah.
And then I think from there, I mean, because you don't really know, right? I could say it's a good idea. You could start, could last 6 months, could last 60 years, right? Until you do it, you don't have no idea.
Yeah.
Did you think it was going to take off as much as it did? Like, how did you know? Because you start a business, yeah, you get some sales. Like, I remember the first issue of Inside Fitness was easier to sell than the second issue because they saw the first one, right? And it was
interesting.
It was the first one for us, we didn't create it. So how was it for you?
Well, for me, it was kind of crazy because, to be honest, like what was supposed to be like a 2-month process of creating a booty building program turned into 8 months of me then creating a box and like calling China and then creating a funnel and then creating the what's your booty type quiz and all this stuff. And all of a sudden when launch day came, like I had already spent like $35,000. I was like, what just happened? Like what just happened? Yeah. So I was too focused on like creating this thing that was going to be good enough to sell for $100 versus if it's even going to sell.
Yeah.
So when we first launched, the first video I did with Alyssa was what's your booty type? And it was just like flashing asses, which was like hilarious. But yeah, what was crazy is we were doing Facebook and Instagram ads and I started selling to like Nunavut and like even to this day, like the places I've sold, it blows my mind.
Yeah.
What keeps me going is the fact that we haven't had one return on the box since we launched. And the results are real. Like this is the thing is like, you know, when you launch something, like I knew it would work because I tested it out on my clients, but to have influencers try it before we launch and then have people come up to me and say like, this changed my life. Like, you don't understand. I was about to have surgery or I was about to do this and this actually worked. It was the first program that worked for me. Like that's what keeps me going. Do you know what I mean? Because people know
it's not always about money.
And they know how much time went into it. Like my whole goal was if someone bought it, they read it, they went through all the videos, but they never did the program, that they were still satisfied with spending the $100 that they did. And that's been what's happened. So it's been really nice to know that people recognize how much of my soul went into creating it so that they were truly happy with what they learned, you know?
Well, I've listened, there's different types of experts out there. You don't have to necessarily have a PhD to be an expert in something. If you live it, and I mean, in your case, the one I think, you know, takeaway here is you develop something because of the need that, you know, to better yourself. So
That's true,
it's personal experience, right? It's like just being around it. Like you said, some people are just born with a great ass. You know what I mean? Like you could have just, I'm not saying.
I was born with volume. It was not necessarily great.
Well, but then you're going to have people who don't have any, like, what if someone comes and says, listen, I don't have an ass. How do I get this?
Well, this is
right?
the thing. I don't even know if you know. 1 in every 3,000 people are dying of Brazilian butt lifts right now. It's like one of the riskiest cosmetics procedures.
Really? Yeah.
The biggest.
And I heard there's a lot of, butt implants. It's one thing.
A lot. And this is the thing is like, if we could grow tits, do you think that breast implants would have become as popular as they? Like, you can grow an ass.
Well, I remember growing up in the 80s and stuff like that. Yeah, I mean, things have transitioned so much.
So much. But I just love the fact, but I love that booty is something that you can build and you can, and the thing is like being able to change your body composition and understanding how fitness and food work together as a science is such a like rewarding feeling because you've worked hard for it. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know, like for me, it's more about feeling good in your own skin and defining what your vision of beauty is and what your vision of strength is, whatever size that is, you know? And that's why I think Booty Building Box does well, because it's just changing the way we're thinking about fitness and health. I can also
say too, I mean, people will see you on social media and I think you're obviously very welcoming. You're not intimidating. So the opposite of...
Really? I've heard I've been quite intimidating.
Really?
Well, I heard actually when I was competing, I was more shredded, that like people didn't like that as much.
But I'm talking like now, like when you're online, people... What if someone messages you on
I
Instagram?
Always message. Yeah. I want people to feel welcome.
I've seen you work with a lot of women too, and it's not always easy, especially when you're doing the makeup stuff and all that.
Yeah.
You're dealing with pressure situations. I mean, it doesn't matter men or women, but you're like, there's like 10 women here, and you have to keep shit like cool, or it could really set off, you know, a situation. And I see that about you. You have the demeanor to, like I said, you're very personable and friendly. So
I try. You know what? Even with the boxes, I write a personal letter to everyone, and then I send an email and I say like, message me if you have any questions. Like I want people to feel comfortable coming to me, because like, as much as, no matter how much it grows and no matter like who buys it or whatever it is, I want every single person to know that I'm still there for them, no matter like what happens with the company, you know?
Yeah, no, that's great. So I got a couple questions. So what are the things that motivate you?
Oh, geez Louise. You know what? I live on my own. I bought my own place. It motivates me to be able to do it on my own. I know.
To pay the bills.
Well, just, you know what? I have to say, like, buying my place put a fire under my ass, and that was a huge thing for me.
Okay, but prior to something, I mean, I'm saying more like what truly motivates you to do the best, not just
making women feel good. I think a lot of women, I think that it's really hard to be confident in this day, like especially with social and all the things that go on. And I think that like a lack of confidence is one of the hardest things, being a woman and feeling good about yourself no matter what your situation is. And I do notice that like with the box, with makeup, whatever it is that I've done, I've made women feel good, because I've had moments where I didn't feel good. So I know what that's like. Yeah. So I think that motivates me more than anything. Like when I see moms that like finally feel like they're back to themselves, or like whatever it is, it doesn't matter how they look, as long as they feel better, that motivates me. Yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. What else?
What motivates you?
What motivates me?
Yeah.
You know, I had this discussion just the other day. One of the things that does motivate me is people think I can't do something, and I won't lie to you, right? So I mean, that's that's something, you know.
Proving people wrong.
There's a part of me that I mean, it will motivate me. There's another part where I'm a perfectionist. If I put my name on anything, I take it very seriously, to the point where I get that's when I get nasty. So
what do you mean nasty?
I could get nasty. I will say, because you know, in the past, I think I'm a very nice guy to work with. Yeah. But I've had employees or people who will cut some corners. And when you're talking about the quality of the magazine, I'm like, and I'll say, hey, like that, no fucking way. I go, this is my magazine. My name's going on it. Your name's going on it too. Any of the writers, any of these guys like Arthur would never cut a fucking corner. He's not going to. Yeah. Be. Sometimes like Arthur, let's just do it. It's like, no. So I always take it very seriously. So that was one thing. As easygoing and as nice as I think I can be when it came to work and doing the magazine and the quality. And you got to remember, doing a Canadian publication, people think of Canadian stuff as being shitty sometimes, especially media, right? Like they thought like, oh, Canadian, well,
I think we're just underrated. Like
underrated, or it's quality. I'm just talking like media.
We're also very conservative in Canada. Like I think both of our brands are pretty out there, and I think like for me, I know my brand's main market is the US. Like they just like they're a lot more like accepting to ideas that might not be.
It's different, right? Like
yeah,
everyone's
it's just
focusing, like you said, on weight loss or this or that. Now you came with something specifically, and I think that's kind of like the future too, right? I mean, obviously the niche and where people want to learn, like I said, guys can get into that. I mean, guys in the bodybuilding world, there's guys who obviously work with their glutes and
I mean that's true. There's a huge market. Yeah,
it never used to be. I was talking to someone the other day about. I think it was like he said Ronnie Coleman was like the first guy to like pull up his posing trunks and show off his glutes, which prior to that, they never.
No one really.
You look back at the old bodybuilding stuff. Arnold and those guys had like full on shorts. Briefs. Yeah, it wasn't that. And just everything. I just think that just keeps elevating.
Yeah. So, but hold on. Like, do you think? And I think that this kind of works. I guess this is a little bit more similar than I thought. Like, the thought of Inside Fitness Mag when you first launch and the thought of Booty Building Box are similar in the sense that they're just both kind of wild ideas for like Canada. Do you think the fact that it was so wild and a lot of people maybe underestimated you drives you consistently?
Yeah, listen, like I said, I had a bunch of whammies against me. I was not wealthy. Most of the guys who get into the magazine world had money, and I was dealing with not like guys who had a couple million. I'm talking about guys who were making millions and millions of millions of dollars. So, and it is a bit of a money game, you know. So for me,
I mean, entrepreneurship in itself, when you have a product, is a money game, right? Like,
but to start, I mean, once you can acquire, you get the ball rolling, then you can invest, do certain things, and that was one of the biggest challenges in my business. This wasn't something where I had to have money to buy print, you had to come up with capital somewhere. And I always been pretty good at, I think, coming up with ideas. I do get this question asked a lot of where do you come up with like covers and this next issue that we're working on. It was a little tricky trying to get some things done. It's never that easy. And then I think we came up with a really, really. Sometimes I had this discussion with some too. It's like if you're forced into the pressure, I like pressure. I don't mind pressure. I think I work very well under pressure.
It's like in school when you have something that needs to be done, you just get it done.
Yeah, no, so I work that way, but I mean, motivation for me comes in many different forms, but certainly when someone doesn't think I can do something, probably a little bit more.
I kind of love that too. I love being underestimated, and I am often with certain things, and it drives me a lot more,
Oh, I started Inside Fitness 2005. I incorporated 2006. There was a magazine that was actually, and I was trying to distribute. I was distributing the magazine through GNC, but there was a competitive magazine called Beyond Fitness that was actually controlled by GNC. So I was competing against
GNC, which is kind of huge.
Like another guy, not GNC, but another guy was using them for distribution. So that was there wasn't much out there. They went away, and then a lot of guys started to like, oh, this magazine looks like it's doing well, and you start to get these imitators. You get people who want to copy what you're going to do.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's fucking great. Go ahead, because my whole thing.
Compare.
Well, I mean, it forces you to do more. You know what I mean? Competition's not a bad thing. But I think I was just at such a level that I expect more, and I was getting more. And the magazine's been getting better design-wise. I mean, the quality-wise. We put a lot of focus and time into it, and I'll never let that go. I'm not as certain things. I pick my battles.
So wait. So if you didn't have the capital, similar to me, like I didn't really have them. I don't even know how I came up with the pre-launch of that, but that's the reason why I did Dragon's Den after that, because I had no money to market it, right? Like you're just like, so if you didn't have the capital, like most people do when they start a magazine, how did you do it?
Well, okay, there was one part of it where the Canadian magazine, I had Jeff, Nutrition Excellence. He was basically that side of it. Jeff had started.
Okay.
Yeah, like he was a big part of the Canadian version, the international version. I was doing on my own through Sportica. So you get people who will help you, right? Like that was certainly because I wasn't actually doing it as the Canadian magazine. There was two versions. It was the international version because I was distributing it all over the world through an export company. And then Jeff was like, hey, you should do the Canadian one. I'm like, hey, well, let's do this. And he had companies that he distributes in obviously their product. So we got them all together. So it's kind of like, and then Jeff being a great guy, saw there was potential and actually said, well, this is going to be and I'll give him a lot of credit because it wasn't just saying, okay, I'm going to help put Terry in business and to benefit myself, which he was obviously going to benefit because it's going to help promote it. But we also, and I said, I have to have your competitors in there. Like there's got to be people who compete against what you do. And he was receptive to it and understood. And it started to grow from there. Because that was one of the things. There wasn't enough people under his umbrella to just
that's how you
keep going, right?
You get the magazine going is by all the people that...
But okay, so that was one part of it. And then the other part is you have to, like, people have these stories. But, credit cards and, like, just going balls deep into
credit
finance.
lines. And,
Well, sometimes
it's hard,
you're going to have to just do things that you're maybe not comfortable with.
Yeah.
And I think actually one of the trickiest parts is when I worked at Muscle Mag for many years, it wasn't like this at the end, but they used to actually pay us weekly, which was pretty crazy.
Oh.
And then, we're getting paid every 2 weeks. But then, when we started business, you don't get paid for 5 months.
Yeah.
And then if you get a big check in at once, you don't want to blow it all, obviously, so you have to manage it. And then, like I said, the finance part of it, it's always, the cash flow. And then, the magazine world, you have to keep investing and so for me it was tricky and it took years to build, and this is going back 2008 when we started to do well, and then the market crash. You couldn't get credit lines. That was a difficult one. It was kind of weird. So what kept you
going though at moments when you felt like maybe you didn't?
I tell you, because the people, just like you,
the
people who, if no one was buying it, like that's the thing, right? People say, "Oh, print is dead. Print is dead." I'm like, okay, it's changed a lot. Dead is I could say, well, when TV started, did radio die? No.
Yeah, well, same with books. I love books, and I buy books all the time, and I still buy magazines. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I wouldn't believe this shit. A lot of guys who were selling
people want
space.
tangible.
Well, just look at Instagram. Like, it's great. There's value there. go and spend the money. You'll spend more money on Facebook and Instagram than you are going to do in print. And in print, in my mind, there's credibility. Well, here's the other thing too. There's a lot of credibility in this.
Yeah.
I'm not going to publish anything that's just bullshit.
Yeah.
Because financially, I would be out of business.
Yeah.
If you wouldn't buy the magazine.
Well, it's quality, right? Like if I didn't take so long and think things through, and I think that's like what surpasses everything else. It's like, and exactly like the same thing. Oh, sorry. For once I'm not loud enough.
Yeah, exactly.
No, but I mean, like when I first launched too, there was a company in the States that had launched the booty box and like kind of copied what I was doing initially. But I could see it going down. Like the comments were going down. Like they didn't put the amount of time and effort and quality into their product that I did, just like you do with the magazine, which is why
the people behind it. And I think nowadays that's the advantage of social media. And that's why I decided I was always a very private person, because I just don't like to be out there. But
which is so weird because your work is out there all the time.
Yeah, but it's easier for me. So that's why I respect, fitness people and bodybuilders, because they're physically putting themselves out there.
Yeah.
I'm talking about a magazine, so I could say it's the fucking best ever. I'm not talking about me. I'm a magazine.
That's true. Actually, I didn't want to be the face of my brand for a while. I mean, now I've just had to. But yeah, eventually, I don't care if I'm not. You know,
it'll grow into something.
Yeah.
And like I said, I'm not the face of the magazine. I'm just a guy who's helping put it all together. And there's a lot of people, right? And the same thing. You're building a community.
100%.
So the thing to take pride in here is, I mean, we've created millions and millions of dollars for the economy, put people to work.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of things. When you're selling products and you're making things happen.
Yeah.
It's not just you. It's
everyone.
Everyone.
It's
right?
everyone.
So
even like with creating it and stuff, like as much as you're the one putting the risk out there, right? Like, so you're the one putting yourself on the line. You're the one that's, doing this crazy idea when everyone thinks it's like nuts. But at the end of the day, it's a collaboration of all these things. And it all puts,
there's businesses where, there's necessities, you need certain things, water and bread and all this stuff. And there's other stuff where it's like entertainment or things that help improve people's lives and everyone together. And this is why I take a lot of pride in being Canadian. That was one thing too. For us, it's like a lot of people want you to be other things. And if you could stick to your roots, I've seen a lot of magazine guys change their fucking tune. As convenient as they could. Oh, we're American. We're this. We're Canadian.
Really?
A lot of different guys would sell whatever. When it comes to sales, they'll be conveniently be whatever that customer wants them to be.
Oh.
Where I stuck with. You remember, Canadian roots was not easy because people are like, well, we want American stuff. But I stuck to it, and I think like
I would stick to it.
Help.
Dragon's Den was huge for me. Just like
that's right.
Yeah. That was really cool. And like honestly,
how did we miss that? Was one of the bigger things too, because that got you out there.
I did it really like initially. I thought I needed investment just because I had spent so much launching, and then I was like, oh, how am I going to do this? Because then you realize no matter how good your product is, if you don't have money to like push your product. On ads and whatever, like it doesn't matter how good it is, right? So initially I thought that, and then when I went in and the way that I loved the way it worked out. I was so happy I didn't get a deal.
You didn't get a deal?
And it was the best PR. Michelle slapped my ass. It was amazing. And they were like, I saw Michelle a couple months after, and she was like, that was one of the funnest episodes we've ever filmed. So like it was fun. And I just thought, you know what? I got to sell this and it's going to be fun. And I did. And like literally like it was an amazing, if you saw what it was off the film, like when she slapped my ass, I had no idea it was coming. I was shocked. Like literally the whole studio probably went quiet.
It was like, what's going on?
Yeah. And then I did the whole like, we're going to bake it, rides. Oh yeah, it was really funny. Yeah, it was great. So yeah, I don't think I'll ever like not represent Canada in the sense like that was amazing for me, and that was
working
huge.
with people, like I said, in
Canada's awesome. It's definitely like they're a little bit conservative for my brand, but they're
amazing. It's
amazing.
Things can grow
I've had so much support in Toronto and Canada, BC, all over. Like, it's been great.
The booty game, like there's a lot of these businesses that were created. I think there's going to be more and more, and I actually think my prediction is going to be more men. That's going to be my prediction.
Oh, interesting.
Or take that little nugget away and to see what happens.
Well,
I think you can get. I just really do think you get them, and you're right, because if coming from women, especially if you have women telling guys, "Hey, you know what, you need to work on that ass."
Yeah. It's the lower back pain for most men, because most men don't do any glute.
I see guys doing this. I see guys doing the exercise and doing those types of.
Did we
I
just
think
go
we're
out of
getting
time?
We're getting there. But yeah, you know what, Jenna, we actually went a lot further.
Oh,
We're almost
geez,
at 50
Louise, we're
minutes.
almost at an
Yeah.
hour.
But yeah, I appreciate you coming in and making the time and talking. We could obviously talk for hours here.
Yeah.
What's up next for you?
Well, yeah, I just
Guessing.
invested in a PR firm in the States to get Booty Building Box to the next
Ooh,
level. Yeah, because
wow.
I don't have the amount of equity it takes to keep on like scaling up on my own. So partnership, which would be great. And I'm willing to, for once, give equity away in my business because I still own 100% of it, which is nice.
Yeah.
So hopefully that's next. And then after that, I don't know. I always talk about how I'd want to do a food show called #FeedingTheBooty. So it would be I love food and I love working out. And I think that like the lifestyle of Booty Building Box is realistic and it feels good. You know, it's like you're not eating poorly, but you're still indulging in whatever you want, but then you're also working out really hard and it's like a obtainable lifestyle. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see what kind of food stuff I do afterwards, but yeah.
Perfect. All right, Jenna. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me. That was awesome.